Okay, welcome to the latest installment of the Baker Diversity Lecture Series. My name is Nicole Cook. I am the Augusta Baker Endowed Chair at the University of Illinois. And so before we get into our really exciting session today, I just have a few housekeeping issues for all of our attendees. I'll just go over those quickly as people are coming into the room. We are using GoToWebinar. And GoToWebinar has you in listen only mode and your cameras are not enabled. So hopefully you can hear us, but we're not able to see or hear you. However, we are very interested in your questions. And in your dashboard, there should be a question mark where you can enter questions for our wonderful guest speaker, Kelvin Watson. And we're going to collect those questions and keep track of them. And at the end of the presentation, we'll have an opportunity to engage in questions and answers with our speaker. Just from a technical standpoint, if you are having any difficulty hearing, the first suggestion is to log out and log back in. The second suggestion is to please refer back to your confirmation email when you registered for the session, and there are call-in numbers that you will be able to use your phone to hear what the guest speaker is saying. And finally, this session is being recorded and we will get it up on our Baker Diversity Lecture Series site within the next week or so, so you can refer to it at a later date. Please feel free to share with your colleagues and your networks. So that should be it for our housekeeping. So let's get started. I want to welcome with great enthusiasm and gratitude, Kelvin Watson, who is the brand new director of the Las Vegas Clark County Library District, formerly the director of the Broward County Library System, has also had leadership positions in a variety of different places, including the Queens Public Library in New York, and also has a really extensive background in vendor services in our profession as well. And the last time I spoke to Kelvin, you were still at Broward and you were telling me about so many good things that you were doing down there. I was ready to move to Broward and work for you. I was just really excited to hear about all of the innovation that you were doing. And so I am very grateful that you were able to join us today. So I'm going to turn it over to you and thank you so much for joining us today.
All right, thank you, Nicole. Okay, let's see. Am I showing my screen? Let's see. Yeah. All right, sorry for the technical difficulties. Oh.
We can see your screen.
I can't see my PowerPoint.
Oh, okay.
I can see myself. So let me get to that. I think when you guys gave me control, that might have done something. Sorry, Nicole. You can see, what can you see on my screen? I'm sorry. Can you see me?
Yes, I can see you and I can see your opening screen, your title screen.
Oh, okay. I can't see my title screen. So that's a problem. Okay, so let's if you can see the title screen and everybody else can, that's fine. I don't need to see it. I think I'm good. Good afternoon, everyone. It is an honor to be included in the Augusta Baker Diversity Lecture Series and invited to speak to you today. It's a pleasure to be surrounded by so many fellow library colleagues virtually. I'm actually in a office here in one of my new branches in Vegas. That's why you see the things in the background. It's a office and a storeroom at the same time. So I had to, I had some other meetings and just had to get here as soon as possible so I could make sure that I could speak to you. Technology is an invaluable tool in the mission to make our society fully equitable, diverse, and inclusive. In this session, I'll discuss how the 38 branch Broward County Library system uses technology in their quest to achieve those goals and suggest how other cultural and educational institutions may do the same. Technology has been a means of outreach for Broward to invite the uninvited and extend our values into the community at large. This presentation will explore how we harness technology to the philosophies in service to our beliefs about equity, diversity, and inclusion. But first, let me tell you a little bit about Broward County and Broward County Library. I've been the executive director of the Las Vegas Clark County Library District for about 5 weeks. This is actually near the end of my 5th week. I have been the director of Broward County Library, as Nicole mentioned, since 2017. For those who don't know, Broward County is located in Southeast Florida, a little north of Miami, and a little south of Palm Beach. Broward County is home to nearly 2 million people from 166 countries speaking 84 different languages. It's a multicultural, multilingual county. And the services and resources of those 38 locations certainly reflect that diversity. Broward County Library is a relatively young library system, 46 years old actually. It's a division of the Broward County government and reports to the 9-member Board of County Commissioners and the Broward County Administrator. Right now, Broward County Libraries has about 1.9 million library card holders. 10.5 million items circulate annually, and these are pre-COVID numbers, and an average of about 10 million visitors a year. Okay. I'm here today to tell you that Broward County Libraries became a co-conspirator on a shared mission to ensure that our libraries promoted and served the highest ideals of diversity, equity, inclusion, and accessibility. We opened both our digital doors with the opportunity and invited everyone to partake in the library experience through our technology outreach. Through good times and bad, no matter what obstacles that were put in our way, hurricanes didn't matter, COVID didn't matter, the library was still serving and connected to the community. Our library team became leaders in and outside of our library to support the library's mission, vision, values, and how we pivoted and transformed to continue to support diversity, equity, and inclusion. We recognized that we were stronger together, working within the framework of our current events and challenges to make real and lasting changes in our neighborhoods, our communities, our county, within the state, as well as in the country. And how our mission, message, and method that we created was a successful framework upon which our library staff, our stakeholders, and supporters could all work toward a common goal. So I'll be sharing information to illustrate the power of partnerships in technology and how library staff, our friends, our allies, and advocates can all move and become co-conspirators. So diversity, equity, inclusion, and accessibility starts in our libraries, and it radiates out to all aspects of our lives because the library is the community anchor. Even under these challenging circumstances of COVID-19 and our recent political and social unrest, libraries and library supporters have used technology to unite and meet and to overcome our common enemies of racism, oppression, inequality, and divisiveness. Now more than ever, public libraries play an essential role in championing and promoting social justice, racial equity, and equitable access to information and technology. Along with our supporters, we provided the community forums for expression and discussion, programs to educate, inform, enlighten, initiatives that promoted minority businesses and entrepreneurs. And here's how we sought out to break down those barriers to success and our opportunity before and during COVID-19. We took a three-pronged approach that focused on mission, method, and our message. A mission to clarify our goals, a method to help us strategize our plans, and a message to communicate our objectives. Our first step was determining and developing a mission, a unifying theme to create a framework for what we were trying to achieve. A mission that was short, succinct, and tailor-made to the needs of our customers and our community. A mission statement that tells you where your organization's mind is, but also a mission is all in your heart. And so the Broward County Library, our mission was inviting the uninvited. Inviting the uninvited, it certainly is both the why and the what. But these three words, inviting the uninvited, have been our stance for the last few years, shaping our library's world view and attitude. When I came to Broward County Library in 2017, our focus became increasing access to technology, expanding our digital resources, and making it easy for anyone, anywhere, to access the library resources and services. So in short, just inviting people in, inviting the uninvited. We invite the uninvited and serve the underserved, providing the tools needed for economic and educational success. Programs to give veterans the jobs that they deserve. Offer teenagers in all of our communities a chance at college. We even have programs to help inmates imagine a future beyond jail. The uninvited includes those non-traditional library users. Okay. I'm trying to progress this screen. All right. There you go. Thank you. We invited them by putting library satellite services on buses, at our airport, in the parks, hospitals, as well as businesses. Next slide. If our mission is our why and our what, then our method is our how. At Broward, our method relied a lot on two things: partnerships and flexibility, or what we like to call pivoting to proceed. We believe in the power of partnerships, as I mentioned before, and we have seen how relationships take our library services and resources to the next level and advance our struggle for diversity, equity, inclusion, and accessibility. Partnerships helped us embed our library through technology in the community. They moved us in so many unexpected directions. They gave us this access to public school students that we had never had before, offering them digital library cards. Over 85,000 students using digital library cards with Broward County Libraries. Partnerships also allowed us to be the first library to use Amazon Echo devices for business to translate requests from our customers at all of our library service desks. The library co-conspirators plays a significant role in nurturing and supporting partnerships. We continue to always expand on existing relationships with like-minded organizations, entities, and individuals who also helped us and could help us advance our library's mission. We move those relationships to the safety of the digital realm because of COVID-19. And it certainly changed how we related to each other and how our communities related to one another. But through technology, we were able to pivot to proceed and still work with flexibility and resiliency to make important decisions in our community and make improvements to our customers' lives. Pivoting to proceed, as I'm sure many of you have been doing and have done by taking on new roles and trying new things in libraries. Librarians have become performers, producers, playwrights, collection management, explored new online resources, marketing, looked at how to reach customers in a print-free world. We changed because we had to. We changed to survive. We pivoted to proceed. And proceed we had. We not only survived, but we thrived. Mission accomplished? Maybe. But maybe we're still striving. But what I can say is I believe the message was heard, most definitely. Next slide. The message is perhaps one of the most important components. It's what your customers, our customers, and the community hear and see and feel about the library. Their perception of what a library is, their perception of what a library does, is letting people know what events are coming up, what new services are going to be available, and how the library can change lives. The message is spread through marketing, public relations, outreach, through that technology, and yes, through all of us. Colleagues, I want you to remember that you are our strongest secret in what we do. The weapon the weapon to use against things that are coming against us. You are the allies. Our co-conspirators, I always like to say, in this plot to use libraries to make the world a better, more just, and equitable place. It's in our DNA. That love, that belief, that's the message. You are the message. I'm the message. By being a library co-conspirator, you show and can show that the library is more than what some people recall or remember the library to be. You can also show what the library stands for with our diversity, equity, and inclusive programs, services, and just everything that we do. Next slide. The diversity, equity, inclusion, and accessibility. When you hear those words, think about them as actions and not just words. That we are stronger together than we are apart. That you aren't just talking the talk, that you're walking the walk and joining in the fight to make a more equitable world through the library services. And with you, it's a fight that we can win, because libraries are more than just book warehouses. We fill gaps in social services, and we catch those who slip through society's safety nets. But to do so, we must put the principles of diversity, equity, inclusion, and accessibility in motion every day and in everything that we do, whether that's through the physical services that we offer or the digital services that we offer. We have to remember the forgotten, include the excluded, and invite the uninvited. Next slide. And my library colleagues, my co-conspirators, libraries can and libraries will survive, be more than what we think they are, as long as we have each other and that we focus on inclusivity, That's what we have to continue to do. Next slide. So with that, we're going to open it up for questions, and I just want to say thank you for listening to me, and I hope something I said in particular, that we are co-conspirators, and I want you to be a co-conspirator, and take that with you in working towards, again, a more inclusive society, and providing those services to the uninvited. Thank you.
All right, thank you so much. So while we are giving folks an opportunity to put in their questions, I'm going to start. And we have heard you talk about the wonderful things that you were doing in Broward County. What are your plans in Las Vegas, Clark County?
Well, I've already started actually with some of those things, Nicole. So actually, as I mentioned, I'm kind of in a broom closet right now. But I this morning I actually went to Nellis Air Force Base, which is in the Las Vegas, Clark County area, to speak to the commanders there, and also the mayors from the different large cities here in Southern Nevada, including the mayor of Las Vegas. And so that's right now, currently, Nellis Air Force Base, and as I understand it, most military bases across the country no longer have libraries. And so I am wanting to fill that gap, and so that's already started. And again, I've only been here 5 weeks. That's one thing. I met with the superintendent of schools this week as well, Tuesday, and to talk about how we can expand the partnership with the library and the school system. I'm also working with an organization here that's called Workforce Connections, and this organization actually helps small businesses uh, become stronger so that they can provide jobs to the community. But they also work with people who are unemployed and want to be reemployed. And we actually have 4 workforce connection sites are currently in our library locations, and I'm looking to expand those. So that's there's probably there is more, but that's a few. Those are a few things that I'm already working on. I'm happy about this. I'm happy to be thinking about this Nellis Air Force this opportunity, because this is a place where we can actually have a digital library in their space that they currently aren't using for library. Yeah.
Excellent. Are people surprised, in whether it's in Las Vegas, Clark County, or in Broward, or even in Queens per se? Are they surprised? Are people surprised in the communities when you tell them what the library can offer them and what partnerships are available? A lot of folks still think we just check out books.
Right. I think some people are initially surprised until they actually see the work in action, right? So we put um we put digital libraries on the buses in Broward County. All right. So we started with we had 30 buses that had digital libraries. So when I'm talking about it, or I'm saying that to people, it's not, that doesn't come to mind. They think it's, like, oh, okay. But then when you actually see it and you're doing it, it actually comes out to be great, because we know people are riding the buses all, to and fro to work. And they have here in Vegas, actually, I just shared the information, uh, from information that I did in Broward with the regional transportation team here in Las Vegas, and actually have a meeting with them next week to talk about putting, that's something else, to talk about putting libraries on the buses here in Las Vegas. And believe it, I'm finding out, so much about, the community, that the route that has the highest bus ridership is actually the bus that goes up and down the Las Vegas Strip. So,
Mm.
so
Mhm.
that's one thing. So I think people initially are, as I said, they don't think of the library that way, but then when you're talking about it, and then you can actually point back to the results that that I've actually proven over um, the many years now, but from Queens to Broward, and they look at those things and they can actually see the reality, like the digital library we put in the airport at Broward that we call the Flybrary. Nobody, nobody was expecting that to happen. We put a digital library in there, and it's everybody became excited when they saw it, and they just were waiting for me to come up with me and the team at Broward to come up with our next ideas.
Absolutely. Thank you. So you've given a couple of examples, but we have a question from Sharn. And Sharn wants to know, can you give an example of how you have made the library more accessible to underserved communities? So you mentioned the airport, the
Mhm.
transit system, other
Mhm.
examples of that.
Well, what I'll tell you is even what we did at Broward was for individuals. I recall a meeting that we had with people who were have visually impaired people, right? But people
Mhm.
who are having sight issues, and so they came and met with me, and we had um, one computer actually that we could initially, make the font bigger, and I think it's called the Ace. Ace is the software, if I'm not mistaken. So what I did was I expanded that to 20 libraries. We went from 1 to 20
Mhm.
because that's what, I'm as that's a technology, but it's also about accessibility, right?
Mhm.
Making the library more useful for even people who have disabilities. We also implemented, working with the Dan Marino Foundation, actually, we put in their Vita software. And for folks who don't know, I like to really make things come across in layman's terms. But basically, this Vita software was like AI technology
Mhm.
used, and it helped people with autism actually go help them build their skills up for job interviews.
Mhm.
So when I talk about diversity, equity, inclusion, and accessibility, I'm talking about those things, those examples that I just provided, as well as the other technology um, uh, projects that we also did as well.
All right, great. Thank you. Karen is asking, did you evaluate the Broward County partnership with Amazon/Alexa? And would you recommend that other libraries explore something like this?
I did. More. It was this. I'll definitely defer if they were here to more of my team who actually worked on this, the community engagement team at Broward. But certainly, yeah, we evaluated it. When they came to me, I had an Amazon Echo device, and so the Echo device that we used was not the one that you use it in your home. So it's not the one that is that where that has all the stories about the record, that you have, that is recording you, and it's you have to teach the skills for the one at your home. um the Amazon device for business is different, where the staff can develop it, and you can actually create um some functionality in it that works for you in customer service. So I would definitely evaluate it. I'm actually evaluating it here in Las Vegas, actually, but also trying to even go further than what we did in Broward. So if you have the capabilities, um, and you can work through the Amazon contract issues, then I would certainly suggest that you explore it.
Very good. Thank you. Jacqueline would like to know if you could talk a little bit more about how the digital library is implemented on the buses?
Oh, okay. So we initially started out with the buses by just advertising the Frigo music service. That's what we started with the digital libraries. We got some slide, we got them to commit to giving us some space, and that's where we started. Then we coupled that partnership or expanded that partnership with the buses when we worked with um, I don't want to. I'll give the vendors information. The Baker and Taylor has a service that's called the pop-up library, and so we worked with them, and we preloaded the devices with um, content. The device, the pop-up library, is its own Wi-Fi hotspot. So basically, you can plug if your buses support this, we were able to just plug the device, literally plug the device in, and because the space on the bus was within the parameters for the service, that's all we did. That's just that's I mean, I made it sound really simple, but it actually was pretty simple. And then you can read books from the pop-up library without having a library card, actually. And then if when you leave the bus, we encourage you to receive a digital library card if you like to continue to read that book that you were reading on the bus. So
Mm-hmm.
that's how the pop-up library worked with the buses.
Got it. Monica would like to know, what advice would you give to librarians to ensure that they provide authentic and sustainable outreach to communities that might be wary of connecting?
Hmm. I, my advice is to um, my advice is just to get out there and to become um, a part of the community, work within the community. um, you know I, I can give you as you see and in your hearing, I can give you concrete examples. 5 weeks I've been here um, as the executive director. I'm going out, I'm visiting branches, but I'm also making connections here in the community, um, all of the communities, and that's what I would say. I mean, I remember when I first arrived at Broward, and the branch managers and staff wanted to get permission for me to go outside the library to make connections with the apartment complex that was right next to the library, for example. So I think that you getting out there and you being a part of the community, offer some diverse services that might seem, again, might seem simple, but I actually started a book discussion at Broward. We called it the Director's Book Discussion, and I moved around the community, um, different branches, but I also would speak to book clubs that weren't part of our library system's book clubs. So that's another thing. And you just have to get out there. I think is again the way that I would tell you, get out there, and keep and get and be not just be sincere, but when you the actions demonstrate that sincerity.
Yeah, absolutely. Kelvin, tell me if you would agree, to just get out there and don't be afraid to make mistakes,
I
right?
would,
And if
yeah,
you make a mistake or it doesn't work, you try something else.
I've done it many times, Nicole. That's what I mean. So a lot of these projects that we're talking about have been ideas, or we'll say even mistakes, that I've had in previous careers. I wanted to put when I was at Borders, I wanted to put bookstores on cruise ships. That was my
Mm-hmm.
idea. When I moved to Broward and was working at Broward, we had just before COVID in that January, we had just started a partnership with the seaport where the cruise ships go in and out of, because my I was going to probably see that go. My goal was to see that goal through, to put libraries on the cruise ships. And again, that was an idea that I had at Borders almost 20 years ago.
Mm,
So
mhm,
I'm not even recreating. I'm just rethinking.
mhm,
And actually, I had a conversation with a young lady the other this week who's thinking about coming into the profession, and we were talking about innovation, and we were talking about and so she asked me about being an innovator, and I said that word is one that is overused, I believe. I consider myself more of a transformationist. I like to
mm,
see things transform. And so, and when you're transforming and making changes, you will be making mistakes, or an error, or you may have to retweak something and go at it again. And I think that's been my approach. And I would encourage everyone to do that as well. And I would encourage that you do that with, not just in regards to the services that we offer. I would encourage you to do that with people who aren't like you.
mm,
I mean,
mhm,
go and actually, you know, uh, we did we did at Broward um, LGBTQ 101 training.
mhm,
We did it for all of the staff, and then we also invited the friends groups to take part in this training as well. We did it in person before COVID. And because I felt so passionate about it and wanted it to, for all the staff to get that training, we then moved to digital training to deliver it as well. So, because that's what we have to do if we're truly, again, sincere about diversity, equity, inclusion, and making our services accessible.
mhm. Absolutely. Thank you. So, Robert would like to know, how do you assess who are the quote unquote uninvited members of your community? For example, how do you find the non library users in order to know how to reach out to them and to know what services to offer?
Well, that's interesting question. So I know the non-library users because um, they are folks who aren't signed up for our email newsletters. They're the folks who aren't coming to the library, and you just go out and you be, and at least from how I've done it and how we did it in Broward, we, myself included, became evangelists for the library and the library services, and we went to places. So you can't, the inviting people in is when you actually go out and do it, right? You just can't open your doors and expect them to come in. You actually have to go out, and that's how we built a lot of the partnerships that we had with, say, for example, the Black Business Chamber of Commerce. A lot of their members weren't library users, so you through partnerships. We partnered with another a group called Akaba. Um, I would go and speak to. We had a partnership with Broward College, actually, where we started doing community college classes inside the library.
Mm,
So you can't, like, say, look at somebody and say you are an uninvited. You are one of the people who haven't been invited to the library. You have to go talk to them and ask them. I ask people all the time, do you use the library? You have your library card? I talk to them about the services, and so that's how you do it. It's a two-way opportunity. People will come in the doors, but you shouldn't expect that, and you should go out and actually bring people in.
Yeah, absolutely. And as you were speaking, it reminded me of a library acquaintance I had several years ago, who is a public library director in northern New Jersey. And she was in a community that was predominantly first gen Italian New Americans.
Mm-hmm.
And they were, still speaking Italian in the home. And she said when she got there, she did, and her name is Cecilia Feltis. I don't know if she's still at that same library, but she said she called it dating or her community. And
Yeah.
she said she got out there and she went to the barber shops, the beauty salons,
Mm-hmm.
she went to the deli, she went to the Rotary, she went where they were playing bocce ball. Um, and she asked all of these folks and she said, I'm your new director and I want you to come into the library. What's keeping you from coming into the library? And she said they told her, you don't have anything we can read.
Mm-hmm.
So
Mm-hmm.
she said her first thing was to get some newspapers and some magazines, and even movies in Italian language. And she said then her second step was to go back to these places and tell them, I heard you and I bought the materials. Like, please give us a chance. And she said her door counts, just shot up exponentially. And, they were just happy to be able to come read a newspaper, or happy to come, borrow a DVD. And so she was, really emphasizing this, you got to beat the pavement, and try again. And after she got the newspapers and the videos, okay, go back. What else do you want? All right. So
Mm-hmm.
to Kelvin's point about this being, a very ongoing process, and really about, being sincere and wanting to develop those relationships with your community.
Yeah, I think that's a great example, Nicole. I think of it. Yeah, that's interesting. The dating concept. I use that when you with job hunting instead. When
Mm,
you,
mhm, mhm,
but but I would say, you know, we in libraries don't think of ourselves as salespeople,
mhm,
right? But we actually have to be salespeople. We have to be
mhm,
hungry,
mm,
and we have to, as in your friend's case, you have to get out there. You have to hustle. You have to do some things like you would if you were a business and trying to get people to purchase something, or and that's again, it's something that you in the mind. But if you think about how retailers do it, for example, um, just think about Amazon, right? So just think about how they go out and really, um, you know, get them. They market their services, but it's out there and it's not waiting for you to come in to do that. And then to the other point, asking people what they want. I mean, we connected with um, the Divine Nine, the Black fraternities and sororities. We built a relationship that, or let's say we built and expanded a relationship with by inviting them into the library through
mm,
our programs, our services,
mhm,
and even our partnerships. We did a library of we did a 5K. We had to do it virtually because of COVID, but pre-COVID, we were planning a 5K run that the library was co-sponsoring along with one of the with the fraternity. So
mhm,
so now we just converted these fraternity members into library users if they hadn't been using the library before. you
mhm,
know yeah, so those are ways again that you do it. You just won't be able to identify the uninvited. I guess I should say, I would assume that everybody, if they're not using the library, they're the folks who didn't feel invited.
mm. Yeah,
Yeah.
for sure.
Yeah. Yeah.
Monica wants to know, what strategies do you have for achieving long-term outreach goals?
My strategies for achieving those long range outreach goals, and I touched on it, in the presentation, is about the partnerships. Um, the partnerships are key because libraries, and I participated in a presentation that we did that took place on Monday, and I talked about this as well, and it was about the partnerships because we might think we can go at it alone, but we really can't. We have to rely on those partners. We have to rely on our allies. We have to rely on our friends, our advocates, those supporters, the people that support the libraries and that's what's going to help us continue to reach and surpass those long range outreach goals. Yeah, yeah.
All right, very good. Mary would like to know, what are some of your ideas to work with the deaf culture?
Interestingly enough, I was touring one of our locations here in Las Vegas yesterday, and we actually have resources to support um, people who are deaf or have trouble hearing. So and this was just a tour that we had. So some of my thoughts on that is very similar to the thoughts that I had um, at Broward. One is to extend those services at as many branches as possible, so that it's not just at one location, it's at many. And then it's to work with within the community partners um, that support people who are deaf, and then we market and promote our services to them. So that's the simple path. But the more programs and services that we provide to them, we should be asking them what it is that we also need to be doing. But if we are already doing things, we need to be expanding them. And that's, again, that just came out of the an interesting question because I just saw some of those resources at the location, one of our locations yesterday, that mentioned that they're the only location in this county that has those resources. So I'm going to be looking to expand those to more places.
Hmm. Absolutely. Thea has a question, and Thea is asking, how much time do you have library staff spending on community engagement outside of the library? And is this across classifications, i.e., managers or librarians, or who on the staff is doing this work?
So I'm still adjusting to the Las Vegas Clark County, and learning all my staff and visiting the branches. But what I'll tell you at Broward, it wasn't necessarily we had a community engagement section. Their responsibilities were, those were in their job description. But what I guess evangelized to the staff at Broward was that was everybody's responsibility to do some type of outreach or telling people about the library. Um, so and that crossed all classifications. Um, but no, there's no specific time. I think it depends on your community. It depends on if you're a branch manager, where your branch is located and how many people are coming in, what businesses or opportunities are around you. Um, and I would tell you that, again, in Broward, I feel that the all a good portion of the staff, I won't say all the staff, but a good portion of the staff, they promoted the libraries. And it didn't matter. And I'm even talking about people who worked behind the scenes, even in cataloging, for example, were out there being cheerleaders for the library. And and that's a true example of the love and the belief of making sure that everybody is taking part in the library services. So I don't believe there's any specific time or time that you should say you need to spend this much time doing outreach. I think it's certainly dependent on your organization and the opportunities.
All right, thank you. So we will conclude with me asking you another two-part question, if you will.
Okay.
Um, I want to know if you can talk to us a little bit about your thoughts on how the profession can recruit and retain a more diverse workforce. We've been kind of dealing with this issue for many decades, so it's still something that we need to be doing. And then also along those lines, if we can be successful in recruiting a more diverse workforce, what are the skills and topics and things that they should be concentrating on while they're perhaps in their graduate programs?
Hmm.
Like, who is it that you want to hire in Las Vegas, Clark County, or that you would have hired in Broward?
Got it. Got it. Got it. Thanks. Thanks. Okay. So let's start with that one first, Nicole. The second question, and I'll get to the other one.
Yep.
Because I actually participate in San Jose State University's uh, library advisory uh, team. So that question is one top of mind. So of
Mm-hmm.
who we want to hire and what skills people need to come with to the table that I would be interested in. I'm interested in folks who have some project management experience. I think those are the skills we should be, leadership, communication. Communication is a big skill, um, but also folks who um, have that promising potential that they're open to coaching and mentoring and some guidance um, and not afraid to go out there and do be creative, create creativity, right? I'm working with a group of students at San Jose State University that's working on a project that I gave them the project topic, and I spoke to them and I just said, go out there and do what you want to do and be creative and it's like you're working in the library. And they were so excited that I wasn't micromanaging them and telling them step
Mm-hmm.
by step how to do this. And I even shared with them, those are the folks that I would be looking to hire who can take the message and go out and do that, especially since the MLS is a master degree level, it's a master's. So I expect that that's my expectation
Mm-hmm.
of the skills. Um, when it comes to the first part of the question, because you're right, we've been going over this for decades. Um, and I would say what I said a few months ago, and I might have even said it to you when we last spoke about, you know, it's more than about recruitment when organizations hire, you know, Black, Indigenous people of color, they're trying to diversify their staff. They need to be thinking about not just the recruitment, but the retention. The retention to me is more important than the recruitment
Mm-hmm.
because
Mm-hmm.
we spend all this time recruiting, and then the individual gets there and there's no support system or there's no mentoring. There's no, and so the person ends up leaving the organization because they feel alienated and feel like the organization didn't support them. The library didn't support them. When I say organization, that's what I'm speaking to, but I could be speaking about any organization that's going this path. I believe that libraries, library leaders, it's really emphatic upon library leaders like myself to have a diverse leadership team and a diverse administrative team.
Mm-hmm.
And because the diversity should go throughout the entire organization. So it should be a concerted effort to do the recruitment. But again, the retention to me is far more important. in making sure that we have those support. We have the mentors, whether the mentors are inside of the library or outside the library. I tell you, I'm actually mentoring a young man who's in South Carolina right
Mm.
now. His library director, he works at the public library. His library director reached out to me and asked me to mentor him.
Mm-hmm.
That that's what I'm talking about.
Yes,
so
absolutely.
so that if you don't feel like you could do the mentoring and the leading, seek out people that are in the profession who can help do that,
Mm-hmm.
because the young man has potential, and we don't want to see that. We don't want to see that him leave the profession. We want to see him
Right.
grow in the profession and be supported. um you know I the Black Caucus of the American Library Association has had been and is and will always be, to me, um the place where I got the um the support that I needed, um, even as a vendor, because you remember that conversation
Mm-hmm.
where I had been
Yeah.
the only a minority vendor, but I found
Mm-hmm.
support in the Black Caucus,
Right.
and that's how we retain them.
Mm-hmm.
I'll say this, Nicole, we all have to work harder as well.
Yes. No,
We gotta,
absolutely.
yeah, we gotta call it when we see it, right? When we see the problems and the issues, like you did with Library Journal, and I mean, we gotta call it when we see it,
Yeah.
and but we also have some obligations as well, and that's um, that's my not only my belief. I think you know me now for some time.
Mm-hmm.
I'm about
You
the
do it.
action. I'm about
Yes.
the action. Yeah. Yeah.
Yes. Absolutely. And that is a wonderful way for us to conclude our conversation with that call to action to our audience. And I just want to thank everyone for coming out on a Thursday afternoon to spend some time with us and to hear some of the wisdom that Kelvin is bringing from these various positions and the wonderful work that he's been doing. And Kelvin, I just want to thank you for every time I call, you say, "Okay, I'm coming. What time?" And I really appreciate your support of not only the work that we're doing here at South Carolina, but just profession wide. So I'm very grateful for your time and your expertise and your support. And I will look forward to our next conversation.
All right, Nicole, you're welcome, and great questions, and I'm glad we had plenty of time to answer all of the ones we did. So, and I look forward to our next opportunity to chat.
Absolutely. Thanks, everyone. We will see you at the next lecture, which is next week, March 25th, with Dr. Portia Moore, who works as a museum educator. So we'll talk museums next week. So thanks all. Everyone stay safe and stay well. And thanks for coming out today.